Good morning, crafters. Welcome to PaperfireStudio in Austin, Texas. We are waiting on a huge storm coming to hit us this afternoon. So I wanted to get this videotaped so I would still have a signal. Sometimes we get pretty hit hard on the farm. But I am excited. Isn't it funny how one thing that you do can inspire a whole new project in a whole new way? I talked about this in my last video about learning how to rust fabric and then dyeing it. And this fabric just totally inspired me. It inspired a whole new journal, a carrying case. I mean, the list goes on. I love that fabric. So let me show you what we have. I want to introduce to you my I've never tried that before journal. Now, everybody, I believe, needs to have an I've never tried that before, I'm going to try it kind of piece that they're working on. And here's why. We get caught in a creative rut. Come on, let's all admit it. We make journals and we make journals and we change the paper, but we're still doing the same and the same and the same, instead of thinking about what have I not tried yet. And so that's how this piece inspired me. And my husband said, "You're really excited about this one, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And the good news is everything that I was trying worked. And we know how sometimes frustrating that can be. If we're trying something and we don't really like it and it didn't really work, then what do? We run back to what we already know, instead of trying to creatively figure it out. What can I do? So I am excited to do a flip through. I'm going to show this in a minute. Show my flip through of my TN size journal. I did not measure it beforehand, but this one is about 9.5 by 5. So it's, it's a good TN size. Now, let me tell you what I've never done before on this cover. I learned how to copy paper onto fabric. And this is just a cotton, kind of a muslin kind of cotton. But it created this beautiful picture of a French receipt. It's, again, I can't see the year on it, but it is vintage. So now I had fabric to use, but I needed some backing. Normally, I go to an envelope, a big envelope. Cut that down, use that, cover it, blah, 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 here we go. Well, this time I looked around my studio and said, what else could I use? What have I never used? And I have, in fact, I didn't bring it over here with me, but I got some sheets of handmade paper at the Austin Creative Reuse. And I talked to you guys about that that great place. Check in your city if they have a creative reuse, art supplies, and they had these sheets of homemade paper for 25 cents. Yeah, it's crazy. But the way that you cut it is a way that I've never tried before. Usually I put it in my cutter, get my size that I need. Nope. Didn't do that. I got water on a chip brush, and I just went down the side of the size that I wanted and pulled it apart. pulled it apart, and that's how you get these frayed edges there. You can see there from the homemade paper. Never tried that before. So that was fun. Then in creating this, there's a little lace collage down here at the bottom, and I've done that before. But to bring in rusted fabric, hadn't done that before. And you can see that this was dyed at the same time. So it's got the same blue hue to it, which I loved. I've never fussy cut out a woman on the cover before. I usually use the picture and make a rectangle out of it and then collage over that. So tried something new and I love it. I added one of my clusters just here with the pin. I've added that on to the side. Again, to just bring a little balance to it. I'm going to lay that off to the side there. I have done this style of closure before, where you do your eyelet, set your eyelet, and then, run your seam binding or whatever you want to use, sari silk, through that. The reason I did it this time is if you could imagine this coming across to wrap it, it would have looked like I've bound up this woman. She would have had rope around her or something, and I didn't want to mess with the picture. So I moved my closure to the side. So again, this is printed from the original receipt. I normally, in a lot of my vintage TNs, I run lace up the spine. And a lot of people do it. I'm watching videos. That's the first thing people do when they think of a spine, is to cover it with lace. I have seen it left open before as well. But my inclination is to cover it. And I thought, nope, I'm not doing it this time. I've left it so it doesn't block the vintage printing that I had on this beautiful spine. And look at the back. Look at the blue on the back. This is why I chose that one, because it brings in the blue. And again, I just wrapped my collage around to the back, so it kind of carried it through on the back. All right, enough about the cover. Let's go in and do a quick flip through. And again, this is the dyed lace that I did. First opening page. And I've talked before in my videos about impact page. How does the first page of your journal set the tone for your journal? And I always spend a lot of energy on the cover, on the inside cover, and look at the middle. So those three places give your journal areas for you to really have some impact and spend some time there, spend some creative energy there. So you can see that I brought in that beautiful fabric and used that paper again that I used on the front. I backed it on that homemade paper. Again, ran the water along here to just separate it and gave me that edge again that I loved. And stuck some things in the opening pocket. Again, I'm looking for impact. I love this vintage postcard. It says kind thoughts. And what you can't see on here, I don't think you can see. Well, there it is. Little bit of glitter. It's got the old glass glitter on it. Oh, yeah. Love that postcard. And then I found this in my stash, was an old perfect blue. It just complements that blue perfectly. And inside here, I just stuck a couple of tags in there. They can pull those out and use those for anything they want. Now, I have used doilies before, put them in a lot of journals, but I've never taken a big doily and used adhesive spray on it and laid it and connected it to the next piece. I've never done that before. And now it makes a doily less of a doily and more of a page. I've created a page out of the doily. And here is the paper that I connected it to. And this is kind of the theme. I've used these before in another folio that I made. I just love these prints. I thought, I'm using them again. Yeah, love them. And got different textures of paper. So not just paper, but I brought in file folder. I believe I got these file folders from A Trace of Sparkle, I think. Sorry, I can't remember. Here I have attached an old vintage postcard, and I love this postcard. And, you know, I've decided this time to use original stuff in here. I have printed a couple of things, but for the most part, everything in here is the real vintage ephemera. And I've included this one. You can see there, look at the postcard, blue. So that tripped me off. First, I wanted to use it, but let me read to you this. My heart has been calling for you, Sid. And then he addressed it to Honey. Oh, I love that. So there's a little postcard to just make you smile as you use your journal. Excuse me, authentic music pages, and it's still got the notes of people who were learning to use music, and it's a nice heavy music paper. I've got a pocket that I made from a masterboard that I did in the blues, and here's one of the tags, and here's something I don't do very often. I made the tag upside down. It actually should go like that. So they can swap this around and use this in a top pocket if they would like to. All right, printed on vellum, added some beautiful vintage lace there, coffee dyed paper, a brown doily. I had these in my stash for a long time, never used them. And man, there's something about that brown and that blue that just is striking. I love that. And then here's another actual vintage receipt there. You can tell by the papers, you know, because they're old, how they feel. They feel very different. And this is a little piece of ephemera I made with a booklet inside with some of the end pages. A lot of times I just use the coffee dyed end papers. This time I used the blue papers that I dyed. I used them again to just kind of bring the theme of the blue through even the notepad. And that's made out of a dictionary page. Did some stamping on that. Yeah, let's talk about the stamping for a minute. Normally, I use black. I stamp most things with black. And there sat my chipped sapphire distress ink. And I looked at it and I thought, I wonder what that would look like. So yeah, stamped in chipped sapphire for the first time. Never done that. Never used that. All right, and then these are my beautiful papers from the 1800s. Just the cotton content in these papers is incredible. And again, use the fabric as a little trim. I even brought some of the rusted fabric down for little tabs. Yeah, you know, when I sewed that, I call them my coffee quotes because I've coffee dyed watercolor paper and stamped on it. Then I just stitched it to this blue fabric. I just had it in my stash. I had no idea it was going to be the perfect fit for this color. And then across the page, I did a Tim Holtz stamp, again, out of the chipped sapphire, and I love it. These are my little quilt squares. If you watch my videos on my love of little quilt squares, I did a top folding or a top tuck here, so she could use that. And again, vintage lined paper with some border again. And here is a piece of ephemera that is very old. And inside, or on the other side, I did a little, it says, let's gather together, and a top folding tuck there. And then I added a Tim Holtz stamp to bring that blue in here. Love that. And this part, and again, this is a graphic, just a graphic out of a book, but it said Blue Mountain, so I wanted to bring it in. I don't usually use black and white, usually look for color, but I love the title, so in it went. Now, I've clipped this on to that book page. This is the most interesting stationery that I found. Now, I went ahead and put this quote, it's from 2 Corinthians in there. I went ahead and stitched it on the cover, but this is a card that you would set, you know, in your stationery. You'd set in an envelope, but look what's inside. They've added places to write in the card. Yeah, and it's Raven and Lily. So I found those in Wimberley when we went there. We would kind of go to Wimberley Junction all the time. This was in one of the stationery stores. So I got that and figured that could clip right there. Then some more stamping. Here's a middle pocket that I did with that 1800s paper. And then here's one of the tags. There's that print again. Again, just to kind of continue that really pretty feminine theme through the book. Again, use that white paper, tore it with water. Here, middle, I just put my card in there. Again, the real deal, some beautiful ephemera. That's the real deal. And a MasterCard journal that I made. Added some of the lace, did some stamping. Here's a Tim Holtz ephemera piece with an old postcard. Oh, golly. Look at that postcard. Look at the blues in it. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Then this is the kind of paper, when I dye it, I roll it in a ball and then I dip it in the dye. So it gives me a wrinkled effect and a splotchy effect with the dye. And again, it's just something different for your pages there. This is the flap of an envelope, and just use the fabric there to run a little border. And this, again, something that I've done before, but I haven't used it in a journal yet, is printing on muslin. This is a light blue receipt that I had in my stash, printed it, and then stitched tissue paper to the back. So you get a little crinkle in with the fabric. And again, did some trim with some sari silk. Here's an old ledger that I use, and it's dated here. The entries are from 1935, and it's the real thing. Didn't take a copy of it. Used the real thing. And here's the center. I love the dots, and I love the stamping. I wanted to put it on either side so it would highlight the middle of the book. Loved that. And here's another piece. This is 1937, the other side of that ledger paper with a tag. And then here's the flip side of that fabric. You can just see it's a faint blue. It's gorgeous. And this is the long envelope. And I just took the bottom, folded it up, and now I have 1 pocket and 2 pocket. So there can go some sentimental things in there, have plenty of room. Here's some more of that paper. Here I did a flip out on a piece of Tim Holtz paper. It's that blue, beautiful blue, and just did a little pocket here with some wallpaper. Actually got this pocket idea from Ruby and Pearl. Yeah, it's very pretty. Another piece of ephemera with that fabric tag. And I made a pocket here. And then here I made a flip out with a little stamp. This tag comes from the Creative Cafe girl. Got that out of her shop. Thank you, Susie. And this is the other side of that page that I did. Here's the other side of it on that beautiful 1800s paper. And I did this video with a padded heart on it. Again, you got to be careful. You don't want things too thick in your TN. And I wanted to show you these. I got these. I don't know if they still have them anymore, but I got these from a store when we visited Branson, Missouri. And it's little cards that you can put in your journal that say a journal story, and then a theme, 1-word description, the style, inspiration, a little bit about this journal. So the owner can fill that out. This journal belongs to, and boom, you can put the owner's name in there, date started, and then at the bottom it says, this journal was made with love, joy, and lots of creativity. Yes, it was. Yes, yes, it was. So I just clipped those in there. Continuing on, I usually like to include a fabric flip, but these are paper flips that I made. In fact, I have a video on these. Embossed handmade paper with tissue underneath. And then as you pop it up, it's on a little hinge. I stamped the word imagine. So that's on the vintage lined paper there. Again, coffee dyed. Here is wallpaper, and it's a side tuck. Put in some goodies there. More paper with that trim. This is a journal card with the Rita Donnelly flip up there. So did a little stamping on that. And just pulled in a little bit of the blue. I love the stamping of that chip sapphire. Again, another original receipt, the back of that doily, and the vellum, a top tuck here, slide a little envelope in there. And here was a fun tag that I stitched in on the right side and pulled in a tag. When I trimmed off the trim to kind of give the tag a pointed top, I used those scraps and pulled it in here on the butterfly. So nothing goes to waste. Nothing. All right, the back side of that file folder. And this is the other side. Again, another one of the pictures in the kit. It's beautiful. And then the back side of the doily with that pocket and a beautiful tag. I did use the fabric as the trim on that tag, and it slides in. And there's the back. So that TN is, there's so many things that I did in here that I have never done before that made it really exciting for me. So with that, I figured, because this is fabric, I wanted to create something for that to go in. And that's where this came in. You can see a little better. I made this from a vintage pillowcase that I'd had in my stash for a while, and did some collaging, took another image out of that kit to kind of carry the theme over to the front. And a couple things about the collage. And I'm with my buddy Robin Dudley Howes. When you're doing a cover of something, this can take you days. You try a million things to see what you like and what you don't. And I realized what was pulling me to this collage was the juxtaposition of feminine and rustic. So I was in my mind looking at feminine things, and then I come up with a brown kind of die cut here. The rustic little, I had to glue these on, and these are just, I think, what they call spacers. You can see on there. And up here at the top, I called it Beautiful Moments. Brought in a little more of that rustic leaf, used my fabric that I love, and brought a number in, which I love bringing a number in. And then using that paper again to pull that over from the journal, and some beautiful gauze behind to kind of just make that white jump. Added some very vintage rickrack that I have. I got this at an estate sale, and it's beautiful. It's all kind of weathered. So I brought that in, added a button. I'm not going to do a closure for this. You know, I don't know what all the owner is going to put in here besides that journal, and I don't want to make it tight or loose for them. So I just have that button there for decoration. And then at the bottom, I did do a bottom out of the fabric and some canvas, because if they want to sit it up and display it, I wanted the pouch to have a base to it that it could sit up and it wouldn't be just so floppy. Floppy. Oopsie. So that is, oh, one more thing. When the owner gets this, she's also going to find a little envelope in there. And you'll notice that there were some places in there that had places for tags, and there were no tags. Well, I decided that I'm going to let her decide where to put the tags. So all of these can fit throughout that TN. And these are just some of these pictures I got from TaylorMade Journals. This one is from Tim Holtz, and I just stitched them on the front of my masterboard tags that had blue in them. So again, it would kind of tie in to the theme. So that will also come in the journal as well. So I am excited to share this. My plan is that the owner of this, who this is already spoken for, the owner of this, I'm going to have to hold this until I know that she's received it, so that she can watch this video and kind of hear the backstory of how I made it. So it was fun, it was exciting, and I want to leave you with these words. The next journal you make sure it's a I never tried it yet journal, and go for it. Do things different and watch how excited you'll get. All right, that's it for Paperfire Studio. Go make it a great day. Thanks.